Hello, thank you for watching today. My name's Sarah and this is my channel called Your Tree Shelf, and today I am doing a video about non-fiction November, which is self-explanatory. It does what it says on the tin. There are 4 challenges that you can do for non-fiction November, but what I've done, instead of trying to fit my books to the challenges, I've just pulled a load of non-fiction off my shelves because they're the ones that I'd quite like to get to. And then if I can make them fit a challenge, then great. But if not, I'm just going to do some non-fiction. I have loads and loads and loads of non-fiction, so I've just grabbed some of it as a selection to talk about. This is one that I've mentioned before. This is one that I've borrowed from my colleague, which is why it's made onto this list, because I need to read it and give it back. The Butchering Art by Lindsey Fitzharris, which was listed for the Wellcome Prize this year, and it's about the discovery of germs, bacteria, and about how hand washing changed medicine and surgery, because so many people were dying after operations from getting these hideous post-op infections. So that's about this. I think it's quite gory and quite dark, which should be quite entertaining. The next one is one I'm doing as a buddy read with Simon from Savage Reads, and that is This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. I must be one of the only people who hasn't read this book, which is kind of weird, seeing as this is my job too. And I've been a junior doctor for, well, I was a junior doctor, not now, but I was for a long time. This is his memoir of his time as a junior doctor. He is now a comedian, and he is very funny, and I've really enjoyed hearing him talk about this book, so it should be really great to read. I think one of the reasons I didn't read it as yet was because I've been going through some tough times at work and I didn't know whether this would make me feel worse, but I think hopefully I'm coming out the other side of that now, and I think he'll do this in a humorous way. So I'm looking forward to doing this as a buddy read as well. My next one is the 3rd book by Guy Martin. So if you don't know who Guy Martin is, he is a truck mechanic. He also races in the Isle of Man TT, and he races motorbikes in lots of different competitions. And he has got into TV, so he does lots of TV documentaries in the UK about things to do with speed and engineering and excuse me, and that kind of area. And he also does some travel documentaries now, and I really like him as a character. He's from Lincolnshire, and he's really funny and really likeable, and he's a real person. He kind of does his own thing, and sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. And he might have had some influence on why my little boy is called Guy, possibly. And so I've read the first 2 of his books. This one is called Worms to Catch. So it says, sorry, what was the matter with my voice? It says, he'd returned to full fitness after breaking his spine for the 2nd time, only taking 2 weeks off work to recover. Soon after, he cycled 500 miles to the north of Scotland and followed that by setting the fastest speed ever recorded on a wall of death, all while he was being soft. Then he got serious. So really entertaining to read, and yeah, that should be a fun one. The next one, again, I've mentioned before, so I won't talk about it too much, but I hasn't got the dust jacket on, so I borrowed it from my friend who's still got the dust jacket, and that is H is for Hawk by Helen Macdonald. I've seen her talk at the University of East Anglia, and she was very lovely. It's about how she lost her dad, and she then decided to train a goshawk, which helped her through her process of grief. So it's about nature writing and about grief at the same time, and it's her memoir. And after hearing her talk, I don't know why I haven't read it yet, it's what happens. The next one is by an author that I have mentioned before, but not this book. It's by Mark Thomas, who I mentioned in my my finally fall tag. This is called Belching Out the Devil, and this is about global adventures with Coca-Cola. So Mark Thomas is a political activist and journalist and comedian who does investigative journalism and activism in a way which is funny but very educational at the same time. So this is It says, from Istanbul to Mexico City, Mark travels the globe investigating the stories and people Coca-Cola's iconic advertising campaigns don't mention. Child labourers in the sugarcane fields of El Salvador, Indian workers exposed to toxic chemicals, Colombian union leaders falsely accused of terrorism and jailed alongside the paramilitaries who want to kill them, and many more. So, yeah, his writing is really good, and I'm sure after I've read this, I won't be drinking Coke ever again. So this will be really interesting and insightful. Next one I've had on my TBR for years and years, and I don't know why. This is called All Things Censored by Mumia Abu Jamal. I've read 2 of his books already, which are wonderful. He is a African-American man who has been imprisoned for a crime that he didn't commit. He was put onto death row after a farcical trial, and he is now on life without parole as opposed to death row after he's been through the courts that many times. He writes essays in books, and this is, like I say, the 3rd book of his that I've got. I haven't got around to reading it yet, but I have read the other 2 that I have. And there's also... Oh, I can't lift it out actually. There's also a CD in here. I have 1 CD player in the house, which is him doing like small talks to go alongside the book. Next one I mentioned in my haul from last month. This is a library book. I Call Myself a Feminist. The view from 25 women under 30. So some new voices. There's some names that I recognise and lots of names that I don't recognise on the back, and I'm interested in reading what young women have to say about feminism as a feminist myself. Pile on my lap's getting bigger and bigger. Okay, next, another one I hauled last month, The Multi-Hyphen Method by Emma Gannon. Emma is a writer and entrepreneur and all-round brilliant woman who is trying to revolutionise modern ways of working and business to try and help us build our own careers to suit our lifestyle and our passions and our talents, rather than just having a kind of 9 to 5 that we're not impassioned about and that doesn't work for us. So this is her book about how to do this, and I'm really excited to read this because it's something that I want to do for my own work. Next I have 4 books which I've either started or have been on my TBR since time began, so that's why I've put them on here. So the first one is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Woo! Big avalanche. This one I started a few months ago, and then some library books that I'd ordered came in, and I knew I wouldn't be able to renew them because I'd had to go on a waiting list for them. So I stopped reading this one to pick up with the library books, and then I never went back to it just because I had so many more library books coming in. So I've only read 24 pages, so I'm going to just start again. This is basically, so I don't know how to quite describe it. I'll just read some of the blurb from the back, not all of it because it's quite long. So what would it be like to be free from limitations and soar beyond your boundaries? What can you do each day to find this kind of inner peace and freedom? The Untethered Soul offers a simple, profoundly intuitive answer to these questions. Whether this is your first exploration of inner space or you've devoted your life to the inward journey, this book will transform your relationship with yourself and the world around you. So I've heard him talk about it on Oprah, and he was wonderful, and so I bought it, or I got it, my mum bought it for me actually for Christmas. As soon as I heard him talk, I wanted the book on my wish list, so I'm looking forward to getting back to this one. The next one, I did a video called It's Been a Long Time, where I'm working through my old TBR books, like ancient TBR books. This one, I started with ones from my TBR from 2011, and I have them all on the floor by my bed, and I'm working through them. And this next one is the only non-fiction on that list, and it is Sorrow Mountain by Annie Pachen, translated by Adelaide Donnelley. And this lady was in Chinese prison for 21 years and tortured, and she says she chose to be a warrior rather than a victim. And she was a Tibetan nun and I think her life all changed for the worse when her father died, and she was taken prisoner. And this is her memoir, which I'm sure is incredible, and I feel a bit embarrassed I've had it on my TBR for so long because it appealed to me when I got it. So I'm going to try and make sure I definitely read this one in Non-Fiction November. 2 more to go. So this one I've nearly finished, but I've been reading it for ages. So this is Parenting Without Power Struggles by Susan Stiffelman. This is the best parenting book I've ever read. I haven't quite finished. I've got about 2 chapters left, I think, because I tend to read... I thought when my oldest was really small, it didn't all apply, and so I didn't finish reading it all in one go, but I've been kind of picking it up and putting it down. She is wonderful. If you ever want more stuff from her about parenting, check her out on YouTube. She's done amazing parenting stuff on there, and she's such a lovely lady, and her stuff just makes perfect sense to me. So I want to finish off reading Parenting Without Power Struggles, and I know it's a book that I'm going to be going back to again and again and again throughout my parenting journey. And finally, before I drown in a sea of books, the last one I've been reading for a long time, because it's not only a book, you have exercises to do in it as well, and because of my time pressures, I find it really hard to keep up. So that is Sacred Contracts by Caroline Myss. This is a spiritual book. It is about how we find our purpose in life and how we do what we came here to do. Basically, it's quite a long book, and you have to write. So the bit that I've got to, which is... So I'm on page 200, and I had to write 12 mini essays as part of this book about different archetypes and asking questions about those archetypes and stuff. So it's quite, when I say labour intensive, that makes it sound negative. It's not negatively labour intensive, but it's something that I can't just take it to bed and read it. It's something where I have to have chance to sit down at my desk and give it some thought and do some writing with it. But when you do that, you do get a lot out of doing it. But so it's not kind of like a conventional sit down and read book. At the moment, I think there are long sections where you don't have to do any kind of writing and stuff, but that's what I thought. If I don't do that, I'm not going to get the most out of it. So I've been doing this, I've been working through this for a long time now. So as you can see, you probably can't see because my book stack is now up to here. So those are the books that I have picked off that I would like to read in Non-Fiction November. Obviously, I'm not going to read all those books, but that is the stack that I'm going to leave out to choose from. And I'm going to try and vlog week by week in November. So my internet is rubbish, it's so slow, so it takes me like 24 hours to upload a video. So it might be a little bit behind, but I'm going to try and vlog each week because I've seen other people do that for Victober and thought it was really nice to see how they're getting on. So... what are you going to be reading for Non-Fiction November? Are you going to be joining in? Are you going to be reading from the challenges, or are you just going to pick non-fiction books? Let me know in the comments, and let me know what you think of the ones that I have chosen. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye!